It's interesting, you know, when I look back at 14 years at London Real, if I'm honest with myself, it's me searching for alpha male role models. And people always used to say, well, why are your guests all mostly men? And I used to get a lot of heat that it wasn't half women and half this and half that. And I was like, look, this is my show and I'm just picking the people that resonate with me and leave me alone. Yeah. But it is that search, and it's not like I didn't have an amazing father, I did, but it takes a village, I think, of alpha males to raise a man. And I think maybe we're always searching for that. I think there is a big deficit right now in the world, but if I'm really honest with myself, if a psychotherapist looked at my show, he'd be like, this is what you're doing, Brian. And I think it's probably right. And each one of these men I learn from, you know, and I learn from women too, for sure. But there's definitely something going on there, which is interesting, you know.
There is. I think also, the truth is, now more than ever, the role of both men and women in society is less clear than it's ever been. For better or for worse, in all of human history and most human societies, if you were a boy growing up or you're a girl growing up, it's pretty clear what your role and aspiration is. It's always been clear. In most of the world, it's still very clear. I think people often forget that the West is only like 1/8 of the world's population, essentially, and most of the world is not as confused as as the Western world is on this stuff, right? It's very clear what a man is and what a man's roles are, and what a woman is and what a woman's roles are, and it's been made blurry. And again, you know, there are pros and cons with this. Again, I think that in terms of laws and rights, pretty much speaking, you know, I totally agree. They should, you know, a woman should generally be able to do what a man's allowed to do, and a man should be allowed to do what a woman's allowed to do. But that doesn't mean that that's actually what's going to happen for the most part, because we're different. We have different interests, certainly as demographics. We have different wirings and different strengths and weaknesses. There are some things that men are generally better at, and there's things that women are generally better at. There's some things that only men can do. There's some things that only women can do. That's just reality. I didn't make it. That's just how it is. And society has always acknowledged this and fit around it. And I think now, particularly as so much work shifts and has shifted online, and you know, the most obvious difference between men and women perhaps is just the physicality, you know, the bigger frame and stronger muscles and so on and so forth. And decreasingly, we actually need that. You know, we both work out, we both keep in shape, but like, you know, we don't need to for our jobs. Right? We talk for a living, right? You don't need to be, right? You're not working in a field, or, you know, and very few men are doing those jobs. Like, we're not going out and battling physically. We're not, you know, we're very unlikely to ever fight in a war or anything like that. And so we've created a society.
How do you get out of a rat race? How do you create wealth not only for yourself, but also for the generations to come after?
I am absolutely amazed with the quality of companies that we're getting exposure to.
We go on to Zoom calls with the innovators and the folks who are building new applications in metaverse, blockchain, artificial intelligence, decentralized finance.
What's going on, everybody? Thumbs up if you can see me.
We are focusing on early stage investment.
And the quality of people that we're getting exposure to, whether it be Dan Tapiero with 1RT, Jason Ma from Open, Yatsu from Animoca.
It's been a phenomenal experience thus far. It has far exceeded my expectations.
We are focusing on cutting edge technologies.
I view it now as the best investment I've ever made. The upside, I view, is unlimited.
And as a retail investor, I would never get this exposure anywhere else outside of Investment Club.
See you in the Investment Club.
Which is very comfortable and very easy to survive, at least on the minimal level. And most people can, I don't know what percentage, but I think probably at this point, most people have relatively sedentary jobs. And it could be a man or a woman, or perhaps even an AI behind the computer. And so men and women have become more interchangeable in some ways. The idea even of men, you know, protecting and providing, it's not as, you know, most women would still, if they're being honest, say, yeah, they want that. And I think most men, if they're being honest, would still say, yeah, like, I feel like that's my role. But even that has morphed. It's not the way it was before. Like if women have jobs and most university degrees are going to women, and under the age of about 30 in many big cities, women are actually out earning men on average, then that whole question around like provision becomes a lot more blurry. And even the one about protection, it's like, well, we live in pretty safe societies. Like it's not like we're living in a cave and I need to stand there and guard against some wild animal or tribe coming. It's weird because our biology hasn't changed. Our biology is the same as our ancestors essentially, but our environment has changed so much. So I think both young men and young women are trying to work out where do they fit in? How are they meant to relate to themselves, relate to each other, relate to their communities? What's their place supposed to be? We're sort of straddling, there's one foot in the West in conservatism and traditionalism and Christian values and chivalry and gender norms, and then there's another foot in feminism and egalitarianism and progressivism and blank slateism, and they don't mesh very well. And I think it's causing a lot of confusion and a lot of dissonance for people. And I think this is part of the big reason why fewer relationships are forming. It's part of the reason, not all of the reason, but it's part of the reason why fewer people are getting married, fewer people are having children. And it sounds like I think on a surface level, it can sound like quite a frivolous conversation, but it actually has very deep ramifications, because if men and women are not attracted to each other and coming together and bonding and creating babies and creating families and so on, like that's actually a civilizational level problem. And there are nations, great example would be South Korea, for example. Japan's an example, but they're not as far gone as South Korea, where this could be the greatest issue that they face this century. South Korea's birth rate is down to somewhere between 0.6 and 0.7 births per woman, which means that for every 100 South Koreans that's alive today at the current rates, there will be 4 great-grandchildren. So that's a 96% decline within a couple generations. So I've never heard a story of a nation turning that around before. That's probably something that should be treated as okay, we need to really, really work out what's going on here. And another part that's interesting about this is the majority of people, I learned this from speaking to Stephen J. Shaw, who's a demographer who looks at birth rates and things like this around the world. He's an expert in this field. Very interesting guy, actually. You should speak to him if you haven't. He brings up the point that, so sometimes when people hear about the decline in birth rates and increasing, fewer people having children, a lot of people think that's simply a consequence of, that's just freedom. That's just people making their choices. No one should be forced to have kids and so on. That's not predominantly what's going on. The vast majority of those people did want to have children, both men and women. So what's happening is that people want to, but are either just timing themselves out on the clock, or they're having other priorities, or they're feeling that due to economic and financial circumstances they can't afford it, or because of there's a whole host of reasons why that may happen. Infertility is a big problem. I think about 1 in 3 couples now experiences some sort of infertility problems, which is a whole other conversation around what's going on with that. And I don't know the solution to everything, but these are fascinating conversations, and I hope, one thing that I hope that comes with the decline and hopeful eventual death of the wokeness stuff is we can reprioritize our intellectual energies and our efforts towards important conversations, instead of wasting time and wasting some brilliant minds arguing about how many genders there are and if men should be in women's bathrooms. How about we talk about some of these other issues and we try to see, okay, what potential solutions, what's going on here? Questions around health, some big conversations to be had there. Questions about big pharma and our food supply. Questions around this birth rate crisis and fertility issues. Questions around our money supply, economics, what's going on with these fiat currencies. These are big and important conversations that will actually steer the boat of humanity more than the nonsense. So I hope that we can spend a lot more time and collective energy now having those conversations and trying to come up with some good solutions.
Yeah, me too.
Hey, I know investing in crypto is scary. It takes a real leap of faith because there are so many scams, rug pulls, and bad actors out there. It's a dangerous business, which is why 95% of people lose all their money. Well, that's why I created the London Real Investment Club, so you can access the hottest deals on the planet and use the crypto bull market to create the generational wealth that you deserve. Join my team of over 100 people from around the world that are making millions of dollars behind the scenes investing in blockchain, AI, Web3 games, DeFi, Bitcoin, and more. Don't miss out. Click the link below to book a call with one of my team now. But hurry, this bull market will end soon.
I know investing in crypto can be scary. That's why you gotta join the investment club. Pull the trigger. Let's do this.